Senate and House members are working intensely to avoid a government shutdown by this Friday. A package of 6 bills faces a potential delay as conservatives in both chambers are highlighting more than 6,000 earmarks buried in the package.
Now, according to the Hill, the spending package was originally expected to pass with ease, but now finds itself on a bumpy path. This all comes as some Senate conservatives try to raise the package in the race to replace Senator Mitch McConnell, which puts GOP whip John Thune in a tricky spot, because if Thune helps push the bill forward, well, it would hurt his support among Senate conservatives as the government attempts to avoid a shutdown. Joining us now to weigh in is Hill reporter Alexander Bolton. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
So give us the latest. Is this shaping up to be another potential shutdown, which we've all remembered the last few times this specter has been raised? And I thought Republicans had decided it was not good for them to have the appearance of being the party that causes a shutdown. But of course, maybe now they think the demands of their caucus or their primary voters is to stick to principle, even if this results in that sort of thing.
Well, when this package of bills was unveiled on Sunday, it got a lot of pushback from conservatives. There are more than 6,000 earmarks buried in this bill, more than 600 pages worth of earmarks. And we're talking about $1 million for an environmental justice center in New York. We're talking $1 million in grants for the building refurbishment for a social organization in San Francisco. So we're talking money going to Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi's backyard. There was also another earmark for a controversial group in Philadelphia that's being accused of anti-Semitism. I think there was an effort now on the Senate floor late Tuesday to strip that earmark out of the bill. So this package is exactly the type of omnibus type spending bill that Republicans say they were not going to let ever pass the Congress again once they took over the House. Well, lo and behold, here we are, business as usual. And so what's happening right now is in the House, Speaker Johnson is going to put this package on the suspension calendar. That means it's going to pass with a lot more Democratic votes than Republican votes. He can't put it on the floor under regular order because so many Republicans don't like this package, but because he's essentially circumventing his own conference, it looks like they'll be able to get this package passed at 3:30 today with mostly Democratic votes. But that really is something that's going to pick a fight with the conservatives. Now, then the action moves to the Senate, and Senate conservatives are having a press conference late Wednesday to highlight their objections to the package. They have problems with it on policy grounds, and also they're upset about all these earmarks. They're going to offer an amendment or a proposal citing Rule 44 to strike all the earmarks out of the package. But this is turning into a messy fight, and Republican, it just takes one conservative to object in the Senate and they can drag this package through the weekend, which would cause a technical shutdown. So far, no conservative says they're going to do that, but they are rattling the war sabers now. So we're going to see a pretty big fight over this package right now. And of course, there are big implications in the leadership race to succeed Mitch McConnell. This vote's going to be seen as a key vote. I think the Heritage Foundation is key voting this, so it's something that conservatives are going to be rallying against, and that's going to put a lot of pressure on John Thune, who's the Senate Republican whip, who's in charge of coming up with GOP votes for this, to pose it as well. Although I doubt he will, because I think he's requested something like $115 million worth of earmarks for his own state in this package.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say, that while I think a lot of folks would like more clean bills passed, earmarks certainly aren't the providence of the Democratic Party. So the question is really here whether or not the Republicans are going to be willing to have a government shutdown on their hands, and for which they will be blamed over $1 million for a homeless center or whatever it is in San Francisco that they don't ideologically support. Are they willing to take on that particular fight? And what are the implications in the long term for House leadership, given that it does seem to be the case that we keep running up against this wall, where the more conservative part of the Republican caucus, the Freedom Caucus, wants there to be absolutely no, or maybe that's too absolute a statement, but next to no relationship, no support for any kind of bipartisan agenda, and they keep having to threaten to oust or ultimately oust leadership in order to find someone who is sufficiently ideologically pure. But can that last through a government funding cycle?
So there are two different chambers, and there are different politics in each chamber. So
Let's start with the House.
In the House, Johnson he's doing an end run around the House Freedom Caucus by putting this on a suspension calendar and getting this package passed with mostly Democratic votes. Now that would have been a casus belli, a cause for war against Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy just had a clean, stopgap spending bill to keep the government from shutting down. He got kicked out of his job. So Mike Johnson, the new speaker, he's going a lot farther than McCarthy did by putting this earmark-laden package on the floor. And he's had a honeymoon. He's been able to get away with a lot because he came into office with a cleaner slate than McCarthy. There wasn't as much built-up animosity towards him from conservatives. But I guess to get right down to your question here is, will House conservatives provoke a shutdown? Well, one way to do that would be to oust Mike Johnson. So will they do that? Probably not, because we're getting pretty close to the election, and they're nervous about some kind of disaster that would basically cause them to be blamed for Republicans losing the House in November. But do they want to work with Democrats? No, they want to shut this thing down. Do they want to stop all the appropriations bills? Absolutely. Do they want to force steep cuts by provoking a shutdown? Yeah, I think some of them do. What's going to happen? I don't know. Clearly, what we are seeing today is that Mike Johnson needs Democrats to pass basic legislation through the House. How long he's going to be able to continue to do that without facing a motion to vacate? That really is the $64,000 question, and that's what we're waiting to find out.
Alexander, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.